morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday wrap-up. I'm here with my man, Herb. How you doing this morning, man?
I just ran off to go look for my phone and it's sitting right in front of me. So that's how my morning is started. So
That's why you bring the coffee?
I apparently have not consumed enough of it yet to wake up any part of my brain. So it's a good start.
Well, that's all right. That's why it's the early show. The people watching it probably also haven't woke up their brain. So
There you go. There you go. So they don't know if we say it's correct or not, right?
that's exactly right. In fact, I'm assuming they probably guess that we are incorrect all the time.
There you go. When I speak, that's probably a 90% certainty. So.
Right? They're just like, these guys have no idea what they're talking about.
No. The first show that I ever did with somebody, he would say to me, "You can't just keep making stuff up." I go, "You can't?" Didn't know you couldn't do that.
I mean, you can. It changes your demo a little bit, but you it goes from somebody that actually wants sports news and stuff to somebody that's just like, oh, let's see what kind of dumb stuff this guy's gonna say.
There you go. There you go.
So, I mean, the show works either way, just different people watching.
Right. I'm here for the entertainment value.
That's right.
If you learn something, that's clearly your fault.
Yeah, it's because you were fact checking something.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, in the sports news, though, Jamarcus Russell in the news again, and remaining the disappointment that he has been through his professional career. He was an assistant head coach at his high school growing up, and he just got fired for stealing a donor check of $75,000. And soon as he deposited it, pull out $55,000 of it. And when they asked him, he admitted that he deposited the check, but denied wrongdoing.
Of course. Which
sounds
like just a standard, yeah, not me. And then I'm going to let my lawyer try to figure something out. Because otherwise, I don't.
That's right. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Because otherwise, should you start off with what check? What are we talking about?
Banks are funny. They have a paper trail.
Right.
That they're pretty good about. So I don't know if you could just deny the check. I mean, he would have been better off to go to the bank it was drawn on and just cash it.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. But Jamarcus Russell, again, man, at least it was a credit union. How's it going, Len? Yeah, so, I mean, wild. Goes from, probably one of the best prospects ever to a bust in the NFL to apparently a bust in life.
Yeah. And it's like the bust NFL thing, like, look, that happens. You know what I mean? Like, some guys just don't make it. There's no way, I'm not going to pile on that part, but the other stuff. And, we happen to run into somebody who actually kind of knew him, I guess, growing up. And they weren't surprised at this behavior. And that says a lot. They were like, oh, this is some, and I'll say allegedly so nobody comes after me, but allegedly has been something, the kind of thing he's been doing, all his life. And I'm just like, you can just tell some guys don't take the opportunity. Because, look, you might have been a bust in the NFL, but you still got paid, right? There's still a chance to change your life as far as that goes and not having to hustle people for $70K.
Especially when he came in. The rookie deal wasn't amazing. Like, that's not the rest of your life altering money. So he still would have had to have been an adult after his.
That's what I'm saying. But the money that he made was a start to something else versus.
For sure.
I'm gonna be stealing $70,000. Yeah, I know it's not like what you're getting now for being like, I don't know, like an average basketball player, but it's still enough to where you can get yourself on a better path.
Yeah, like you could have opened a business with.
Yeah.
If you were smart with the money, you could. On a rookie deal, if you make it through, and you get all the guaranteed money out of it, yeah, like you could start another business or whatever, but it's not, that's not generational money for sure. Like that's, this will give you a step up moving forward. But at the same time, we're talking about kids that are 20, a lot of times that have never had money at all. and then expecting them to make good decisions with it. So, I mean, I can't say that I would have made a lot of good decisions if I was handed a chunk of money when I was 20.
I mean, it's still 32 million guaranteed is what he started with, though. So it's still
that's more than I thought.
Yeah,
that's more than I thought. Okay, well, I mean, realistically, he should have been able to do something productive.
Yes, you know what I mean. Like,
I'm gonna go with 32 mil. I can make the numbers bump together. Like, I think I can figure that out.
It'll be tight, you know. But it's just. But like, I mean, you made a great point there, though. It's you're 20 and you get that money and you just kind of, I don't know. You probably think your NFL career is going to be 10, 20 years, whatever. I feel like every guy who jumps in there thinks I'm getting at least a 15-year career, despite the numbers saying
that you're
otherwise.
Not. Yeah. All the numbers saying you don't get off your rookie deal.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, it's funny though. Cause like, even when I was, that age, I made some good decisions and some bad decisions. So, like I incurred, Raj, I incurred debt, right? I bought stuff I shouldn't have bought. But then at the same time, I bought my first house when I was 21. And so, I mean, like I made good decisions and then I made bad decisions. And when I sold my first house, it paid off my debt. And I was just like, okay, well, I mean, a good decision fixed my bad decisions. Right. But if you compound that by a bunch of zeros on the paycheck you're getting, those bad decisions can get kind of wild.
Yes, I agree. So
fun.
I think there's
be fun decisions, but
yeah,
probably not good for your financial future.
Yeah. You'll have good memories, but 30-year-old, you will look back at 20-year-old and you'll go like, we couldn't have just had half of those memories and had more money. Like,
why did I need to train a dolphin to ride a jet ski? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was awesome at the time, but can I just get that money back? So I don't know. And that kind of gets you down the rabbit hole. I mean, but it kind of gets you down that rabbit hole of like who's around the people that are coming up like this and what's kind of going on and who's helping. So I know it's not necessarily where we're going, but we were talking about this weekend about Trent Richardson and, because I think on Mr. U Show on Monday, he asked about the biggest busts. And I was like, that was one that hurt me personally because he's a Bama guy. And one of my friends who kind of knew that was like the same thing, man. The family was around him and they were doing this to get money. And he think it was just a huge distraction. It's just like, you wonder with Jamarcus Russell, same thing. Like, who's around you at these times? And like, you need somebody in your life who's not saying, yeah, like,
he's got to have that circle still around him to be doing stuff like this.
Yeah. And that's just, if you have somebody in your life who has no job, who's sleeping in your house and is basically relying on the money, but it's not providing us, like they're not cleaning your house. You know what I mean? They're not like, if that's all they're doing to survive, like those are not the people. They say they're your friends, but a friend wouldn't let you do that.
I mean, that was MC Hammer's
Yep.
entire entourage, right?
Yep.
Like all his friends, he was paying to do stuff. And that's why, I mean, he ends up going bankrupt, right? So, I mean, you gotta, you gotta protect yourself. And it's something that you're asking a kid that grew up with these guys. They're fun, they're cool, they're hanging out. And then you have to try and like separate your friendship from your professional career. And most people don't have the ability to do that.
Yep. So, and I'm not saying it's all.
This is true.
Yes.
Yeah. They also disappear if you change careers and it doesn't, there's nothing that benefits them anymore. That's something that I've noticed doing this right here is, I gave up a successful HVAC company and moved to Mexico for a couple of years, whatever, come back. And, I hear the rumblings of people that I thought were friends that are like, oh yeah, he's messing up, ruining his life. And I'm just like, okay, all right.
That's crazy.
When this thing blows up, keep that same energy.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what I mean? And that's when those people come across. But also like the people, and when you say rumblings, I'm assuming nobody wants to come up and like talk about it.
Saying that to your face.
So that's just like, Your friend is the person who will come and talk to you in person and say, "Look, I don't agree with you," and then still be there. Like the other people are the ones that you hear about, and then they're just not there. Like it just don't. Obviously, I've never been in this position, so I've had to weed out a whole lot. But it's disappointing.
It's disappointing, but also good at the same time because they're telling you who they are.
Right. True.
So I didn't realize that Wednesday wrap up was going to be a TED Talk, but here we go. But yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. It is one thing, especially as you get older, you really learn and embrace when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
So, when I start hearing that, or they'll drop those comments of, "Oh, how's your little show doing?" That condescending dad shit.
Yes.
Good job, Buckaroo. Yeah. So, but yeah, no. So I mean, it's funny because you listen to it. You don't take it to heart. It is what it is. You can think whatever you want. Basically. But and it's no different than starting your own business, right? Like it's because I've started a few of those. I had an auto shop in my HVAC company, and they'll be the same ones that'll never come to you, right? They'll never actually use your service, but they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I went to this shop and they ripped me off." And it's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, like I'm a 3-time master tech and own a shop. Like you probably could have came here." And they're like, "Is that what you do?" It's like, okay.
Is that what you do? Yeah. Okay.
In that case, this door you walked in, just
head on out. We're good. My life will be the exact same without you, if not better. So,
yeah. That being said, if you're watching this and you are starting a podcast, just keep in mind that even if they don't support you, it doesn't matter because your success is never going to be built on the people you know anyway.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamarcus Russell. Jeez.
Right? Way to make bad decisions.
You're like, what started this whole thing, Jamarcus Russell? What?
Yeah, well, what? I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense, though, when you think about it. Don't make bad life choices. Yeah. That being said, Bo Jackson is going to be put into the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame, which, rightfully so. That is a career that, man, I wish he'd have never got hurt because, man, an amazing athlete.
Yes. It will always be one of the greatest. And going back, I guess, I didn't realize that he wasn't. I mean, this seems like something that was maybe well overdue for Bo Jackson. So I don't well, like what sparked it at this exact time?
So that I don't know. I mean, I know it's been 30 years since he played, so maybe that played a role. I don't know, but I guess the hard part with him is his career was short because of the injury. Right. So getting into any of the sports Hall of Fames is tough because you're not really putting the numbers up. So if you're putting him in, it's kind of based on
memories,
potential not reached.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, had he stayed healthy, I mean, he's breaking records all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but because he gets hurt, none of that happens. And if you're doing it off of Tecmo, absolutely.
Dude, sadly enough, that was going to be my next point, which also kind of shows my age. But everyone knows if you didn't pick Bo Jackson's play in Tecmo Super Bowl, he was gonna run all over you. So
yeah, I mean, all you had to do is that sweep play, and it was a wrap.
Yes. Yep. And sometimes you'd pick the same play in your whole life, which I loved about Tecmo Bowl. If the other team picked the same play as you, your line fell apart. Linemen would go bouncing down the field,
and Bo Jackson would still score.
Yes, and Bo would still find a way. The guy was like, "This is like who made this game and put his speed on 200 and everyone up on like 50."
I mean, you could literally run if you were goal line stand at the 1. You could run backwards into your end zone and still score. Because we would do that to each other just to make each other mad. And then, of course, eventually you were just like, okay, nobody's allowed to take the Raiders. Like you can play anybody else, but no one's allowed to have Bo Jackson.
Yep. That was crazy. But no, it'll always be one of the great what ifs because he's got to be the best athlete that most people, especially from that generation, have ever seen. And was doing it seamlessly in like 2 sports. It was just crazy.
I mean, he was an all-star in 2 sports. So it's not even like it was like, I mean, he was an all-star. You're just like, okay, Pro Bowl, all-star. You're just like, all right. I mean, man.
Yeah.
And realistically, he may still be the best athlete I've ever seen. Like,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're thinking of all the new athletes, I mean, probably one of the best just pure athletes I've ever seen.
Yes. No. And I think that's without question. And I know people will call up stuff now. I always give nowadays, not an asterisk, but I'm like, look, you have better programs these days. Like you're feeding 6 and 7-year-olds like weight programs, you know what I mean? So like you're going to get a little bit more out of today's athlete than you did back then. Bo was just Bo. I mean, that man was amazing. And like I said, built for 2 sports and could just handle the whole thing. Not like, I know Deion did it, but Bo was like, a beast in it in both.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I mean, if you were looking at it as, if you're going to go off the 2 sport athletes, the successful ones, we're not going to throw like Michael Jordan's in there, shit like that. But,
excuse me, Michael Jordan only ever played basketball, and you can't prove otherwise to me right now on this exact show.
I mean, I feel like I could screen share some craziness.
I will close my eyes through the whole segment. I will pretend like that never existed. I'll just log out until it's time.
Right. But yeah, I mean, when you're comparing those two, that's not a real comparison.
No.
I mean,
at all.
What Deion did was impressive. No question. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays in a World Series, he plays 2 sports and on the same day. I mean, or it was consecutive days or whatever. So, right. I mean, it impressive. But yeah, Bo Jackson was just a different type of animal. So very cool to see him get in. Yep. You hear people talk about, will he ever get into, Pro Football Hall of Fame, stuff like that. It's like, it's just on potential, but that's not how they vote. No. I mean, if you
rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't, because there's always tons of failed potential.
Right.
But I mean, when he was playing, you're just like, man, this isn't even fair.
Right. Right. No, I agree. No, it would be a disservice if it was like the Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially for guys who like actually had careers and were debating it. Like, what are you doing? Well, if if you extrapolate out his numbers, this is what Bo would have had. I mean, there's every another chance that, like, even without the injury, like, I don't agree with this, but you never know what's going to happen the next year. Maybe all of a sudden he gets fumbleitis or something. I mean, you just never know how, exactly. You know what I mean? You can't say that fairly. Would I argue with you? You said, nah, Bo would have been great. But yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you would look at it and be like, yeah, he was going to be great. Like, you don't even have to watch a lot of tape to be like, nah, he'd have been the man. But who knows? Like, maybe he stops being able to pick up the baseball.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden now batting is an issue. You're not playing baseball anymore. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened had his career continued. But yeah, no, but all that being said, very cool that the Royals put him in.
Agreed.
Obviously one of the like highlights that you always see of him, even today, is, him catching that deep fly to center and then running up the wall. But that's where you needed some of those baseball games. I'm curious what he would have been in one of those. I mean, as dominant as he was in Tecmo Bowl, imagine if he was like Major League 2000 or something, where you could smash it over the fence all the time anyway. Could you, like, it would leave every stadium.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Jackson hit it for 536.
Oh, they should have done that. I can't believe somebody didn't capitalize on that. I guess football was the easier one to make him dominant in. So.
Well, yeah, because all you had to have is speed, right?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, realistically, I guess in baseball it would have been easy. You just, anything that's in the strike zone leaves the field.
Yes. Yes. Hey, that one bounced off the ground. A la Vlad Guerrero, and yep, he still cranked it out.
That was actually pretty cool. That skip shot.
Yes.
You're like, no way that. First off, I'm impressed you made contact.
Yes. That was my thing. I was like, wow. And then, but I also want to know what makes you think, all right, it's bouncing, I'm gonna catch it off the hop. Like, what in your brain thinks?
I mean, it makes you think, did he play cricket before? Right? Like, he's like, oh, I got this.
Yeah. This is just natural to me. So I don't know. That man was amazing too. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. So we have the WNBA. And so we have some records that are being broken. Obviously, Caitlin Clark was the fastest to go 300, 100, and 100, which, you were expecting good things out of Clark being the number one prospect and, of course, through the college career. But then you have Angel Reese being the first to have 10 double-doubles in a season, and she did it in 10 consecutive games.
Yeah.
So
she added another one last night. I don't know if that was including last night or was this right before that?
That would have been before that. So that's 11. So she's just adding to her own record at this point. So all of the Angel Reese haters, I don't know what storyline you're coming up with now, but I mean, she's pretty dominant out there. Yes. I did hear some hilarious kind of back and forth about most of her rebounds are because she can't shoot from herself. But hey, you know what? A rebound's a rebound.
Right. And so that one always spot, because like first off, I guess maybe because like when I played too, and like never at any great level, so we're talking rec ball.
Yeah.
But I was athletic and I couldn't shoot, so I would be your guy. Plus, 6 foot is like kind of bigger at rec level than it is like NBA. You're not like a point guard at that level. You know what I mean? So Raj can actually testify this if he will actually say something good. That's where I got a lot of my points, was garbage points. Somebody missed a shot, I'm jumping up, I'm tipping it in. So it'll probably be like several 2 or 3, rebound instances before a bucket. Everybody who says that, though, I'm like, I don't think you guys realize how hard rebounding is. It's not like she's throwing the ball up and she's standing by herself the entire time, right? Like it's go grab one, go get this, go grab one, get this, and she puts it up. That's fine. Plus, also, I'll say her shooting numbers have increased, over the past 2 or 3 games too. Yeah. So it's just like people have decided they don't want to like her, and now we're just coming up with anything, because any other team in the league would say, okay, 11 straight double-doubles, yeah, we'll take that. That's fine.
All day. So, yeah. Nobody's, I mean, in the NBA, if somebody's like going to consistently put up a double-double for you and that's your main rebounder, you're happy about that.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, imagine some of those Bulls teams if maybe Rodman put up more than 2 points a game.
Right.
You're going to add another, 10 to 15 points.
Yes.
I mean, now we're talking about crazy blowouts.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So, right. Thanks, Raj. I love the surprisingly. Yeah.
Hater all the time.
Yes. But he's consistent. I'll give him that.
Yep.
But no, I mean, and then, the other thing with the Angel Reese, like she was the 7th pick, right? So like sometimes, and because her and Caitlin Clark are always tied together, you read threads, and whenever you read a thread about her, the 2 comments, the one you just said about, she's showing up for other ones. And then randomly somebody go, oh, Caitlin Clark was better. She was the number overall pick. So she's supposed to be better. So they play totally different positions,
Well, that's the thing. Clark is supposed to score.
Yes.
That's not exactly Angel Reese's primary function.
Right. So, and keep in mind, Angel Reese is doing this on a team where they had somebody picked, like, is supposed to do the same things as her, and they picked her first with Cardoso. So she's not necessarily, now she did start off injured, so that did get her, but they're both out there now, and Reese's numbers haven't dropped. So that should just tell you a lot about Reese and maybe being, undervalued at the 7th spot. But I don't know why we can't just give kudos to both and be happy.
That's the thing I never understand. Like you can like both of them.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's not like you're like, oh, well, Angel Reese is good. Well, you must hate Caitlin Clark.
But that's what people think.
I know. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'd be like, oh, I really like grapes. They're like, so that means you hate oranges? It's like, wait, what?
Like, didn't realize they were in the conversation.
First off, I wasn't even talking about oranges. Like, what are we talking about right now? Yeah. No, it's wild to me that it's gotten to a spot where if you like one, you have to hate the other for some reason.
Yes.
I feel like you can respect both of their games.
Yes. They don't hate each other. So it's like, why are the rest of us breaking this on them? They're actually talking about the prospect of playing together in the All-Star game, which was just announced, last night.
Yeah. So they are. They're both on the All-Star game. They will likely play together. And they're going to go up against the national team. So the Olympic team is going to play the All-Star team.
Yep.
That Olympic team better win.
Yes. Yes. Because I feel like they lost the last one is what I was reading in the article too. So like, you better bring it. You better not let Caitlin Clark drop 30 on you or something ridiculous, So it's going to be a fun atmosphere, I think.
That is finally an All-Star game I'll watch.
Yes.
Because I can't even watch the NBA one. That game is such a train wreck. the fact that there's 400 points scored in it is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some rec league type defense at that point. I mean, it's basically what the Pro Bowl became before it became a flag football game, and I don't watch anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. Although, I mean, I guess all things being equal, when you're looking at the NBA, your normal NBA game at this point is what the All-Star game used to be, right? Everybody's scoring $120. That used to be the All-Star game because, you know, back then everybody was scoring, you know, 85 to 90 points. Now everybody's scoring, you know, 120 in a normal game. So when there's zero defense in an All-Star game, all of a sudden you're 200 points a team. You're just like, okay, this is not even fun to watch. Like, this is
right. But now there's like, no, at least even then it was like great offense or whatever. But there's, you know, there was a like the guys back in the day took it personally when the guy scored, or, you know, or got them when they were D'ing them up. Even like Magic Johnson's last All-Star game, I remember they were like, yeah, look, we know you retired. We know you brought back to the ceremony. Still going to try and D you up a little bit. You know, like, farewell, Magic. But yeah, we're still going to try and D you up. Now it's like, when I see a guy shoot a layup in the All-Star game, I'm like, I thought it was at least dunks and threes. Like, if anybody's giving you free reign, at least make it entertaining. But sometimes they just dribble through and put the ball up. And I go, so you guys really just
they don't care
at all. Yeah. But WNBA is going to be different. Like, there's going to be a lot of pride on the line, you know, and one of your biggest draws. And if the WNBA is smart, which I have my doubts, and that's not a shot at the players at all.
No, it's a shot at the organization, and I absolutely agree with you because they are mishandling this as much as possible. Yeah, and that's something we'll talk about more. But yeah, finish your point.
Reese and Clark need to be the focal point of the WNBA team. There needs to be like almost a mandate. Like, look, they have to play together a certain amount of time, and we need a whole story. You know what I mean? Like, that needs to be a capsule thing about them before the game. So that's it. That's all I'll say on it. So.
No. I totally agree. I mean, it's the way that this team or the way that this organization mishandles their marketing is unbelievable to me. I mean, when you are looking at two players that are breaking records, right? Mm-hmm. You have this great story to follow through college. Goes into a national championship game. There's obvious sides between the two because they're chirping at each other. It's a fun storyline, and they were incredibly dominant. You get into the NBA, and you could have some high school DECA student doing better marketing than what the WNBA does. And that is mind-boggling to me because the storyline writes itself. Like, you don't even have to try.
Thank you.
Right? You got two players. They have an obvious rivalry. You can have some bird magic action happening. Both breaking records. You can't figure out how to market this so that people are watching, and you can't figure out how to put this in some sort of network TV so that people don't have to pay for streaming to find your game. Like, you're talking about having a hard time getting viewers, and you make it hard to view.
Yes. Thank you. It's almost like because Angel Reese went 7th, they were like, oh, we're not sure about this. Like, the personality carried her at the beginning, and the play is carrying her in the second half. Like, it was all there. But they put everything on Caitlin Clark, and it's like, you have to have something else out there. You know, like you can't, you know, I hope she always has a healthy career. But, you know, if she gets injured tomorrow, you're going to tell me that whole thing's going to fall apart. Like, do some other stuff. But the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark one, to your point, is an easy one. Like, I could have put something together.
Well, and because you have to protect yourself from potentially, you know, one of them getting hurt, you're not going to backfill some Brink because, I mean, she was 3rd in all-time scoring, right? So, I mean, it's not like she was terrible. So,
no, I know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said at the very beginning of the year, everything was Caitlin Clark, and then there was nothing else. So it was just weird.
No, it's definitely something I don't understand. And I mean, everyone that I've talked to that is in the marketing field, they're just like, I don't really understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you have is a slam dunk and easy to market, and you even have, you know, spokespeople for it, right? I mean, because it's a sport, so you're dialing in on players themselves. So it's not like you have to fabricate anything. Everything is just like laying out in front of you, and you're just like, nah, I'm good. Like,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Like, you know what? We have these charter flights. I think we should go back to riding the bus.
Yes. Yes. Which I wouldn't be surprised if somebody actually, we could still save some money. Like, no, this is the time to move forward. Let's get this out there. Let's get some special stuff going on. I'd have already approached Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Like, hey, yeah, we're going to need you guys out here at this time. And y'all are pretty much going to be best friends during this whole thing. Like,
well, what? And how do you not have a tour almost of some of these during the Olympics, because there's a break in the WNBA season because you're moving all these players over to play in the Olympics, which means you have some time. You could be doing a tour where they're doing signing engagements and whatever. And I mean, I don't know, like, it's wild to me that they're not taking advantage of one of the easiest marketing kind of programs you could have.
Yes.
That being said, it'll be taught in every college marketing class forever of how to not handle a situation. They're like, yeah, so if you ever wanted to see exactly the opposite of what you want to do, check out the WNBA.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And it's funny because, like, even not even just their marketing standpoint when it comes to viewership and all of that, even when it comes down to individual teams. Like, I've reached out to the Storm multiple times, multiple different people, as far as just getting the ability to cover the team, right? I'm not even trying to get in and film. I just want to be able to be in the room to ask questions and stuff. I can't even get a return email. Like, how is your media team so bad that you can't return an email?
Yes.
Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah. I worked for a bad boss that was like that. And one of the guys that came and worked for us for a time and left said, he's treating this like a hobby. And that's what you feel like sometimes by some of the people running the WNBA. It's like they're treating it as a hobby. And I mean, I guess it's a shorter season. It's kind of in the middle thing. I get it, but it still has a lot of potential. Short. Yeah.
It's not like 10-game 3-on-3 short. Like,
right. No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's their mindset of the person who's like, oh, this is like, there's a lot of money to be made there. There's, like you said, a certain amount of marketability, and you need to be treating this better than what you're treating, especially with this new crop. It's like you said before, Brink, she was kind of like the lost star in all of this, but she was the number 2 pick and in several commercials before. And you barely heard anything about her, you know, before her injury. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually the only thing we've heard about her is she got injured. So you're like, where was she the last, like, 13, 14 games? Like, what happened there? And they're just like, well, nah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is one of the best crops that they've had of rookies come in, and they could have just. I mean, I would have done a whole rookies versus vets thing with that whole arguments that got started before here. I mean, it's like the storyline just kind of.
It's easy. Like, it's some of the easiest marketing ever, especially because the NBA was a bad watch, right? Like, it was not an enjoyable. The product has become terrible.
Yeah.
So you're coming off of college basketball where the men's side is a lot of movement, a lot of one and dones. There's no storylines to follow. So the women's side becomes a very marketable end, right? You got the storylines you used to have on the men's side where you have careers you can follow. You're watching rivalries form. They go directly into the WNBA. So now you have this product that people are already geared up to watch because it was only, 2 weeks into the draft, 2 weeks into the season. You're putting it up against a product that largely isn't great. So people are ready for basketball. And you're just like, go on vacation, I guess.
Yes. I mean, it's like I'm trying, because I know it doesn't need to go super long, but it's like every time we talk about this, another thing pops in my head. And I'm like, this isn't even my job. This is, but guess what? Caitlin Clark beat Diana Taurasi the other night.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a bigger story? It's just.
Yeah, that was a footnote. They're like, oh, yeah. Caitlin Clark had a good game and she beat Taurasi.
Yeah.
You're just like, what?
You mean the person you guys said was trash talking her before the season? Like, the vet in her last Olympics that some people think took Caitlin Clark's position on the Olympic team. Like, hey, those are just two, storylines off the top of your head. So,
right. Yeah. Man, I don't know. Speaking of bad marketing though, so I was at the final AFL game of the season here in Seattle over the weekend, and most people didn't know the season happened.
Yes.
You only did because I talked about it.
Yes.
Otherwise, no one would have any idea. Again, I don't really get how these leagues are going to be successful if nobody even knows that you're playing.
Right.
So you go in for this final game, and granted, both teams weren't good. They were fighting for last place in the league, right? So, the final game, it wasn't good teams. That being said, you can go to one of these teams, or you can go to one of these games for, the cheapest ticket's like $20.
Right.
Right. So if you go in there, and for this final game, there was actually a promo code for 50% off, right? So you could go to a professional sports game for $10. So say you take for me, it'd be like, take my wife, we go get a beer and a pretzel or whatever. So you're telling me I can have, 2.5 hours, 3 hours of entertainment for $50?
Right.
You can't go to Burger King for that.
Right. Right. So, which, by the way, the AFL has also always been kind of an entertaining product. It's not like you were going to skip an NFL game or college game to watch it, but it was never on, at those times. So I remember, oh, hey, I want a quick football fix. Oh, here's a game on. Oh, they're running this. It was always, they made it into a fun product. So like you said, and to your point there, when we went to like the Stallions game, the UFL stuff, tickets started $10, You can upgrade to a decent one for like 18. I'm like, why not? Football, at the stadium for that price?
Exactly.
I'm in,
Like, are you going to watch it on TV? Man, I don't know, right? Because generally there's a step down in the product. You're used to watching the NFL. So, I get that. But are you going to go to the game? Absolutely.
Yes.
Because you're not just there for the game, you're there for the experience and everything. And that's where it was disappointed that it's marketed so poorly. Because that was one of the things with the AFL is, in years past, was, did it get great like TV numbers? No, but the stadiums were full.
Yes.
Like, people were watching these games.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I would say maybe 1,000 people in that stadium.
So it's just
a lot of empty seats.
Yeah.
And I would say 1,000 would be generous.
Right. Wow.
And
that's just weird to me. So true story. I think I was on vacation, and then one of the kids that was there, we're just talking about football, and he mentioned the arena. Was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I said, I don't know what happened to them, because they used to play. I remember those games being on all the time. And then we did a podcast with you, and you're like, oh, yeah. And I was like, wait. Like, it's serious. And I wasn't doing it to be funny. That was my serious question. Like,
yeah.
Oh, they're still playing? They still have teams?
Yeah. So, all things being equal, they've gone bankrupt like 3 different times.
Right.
So, it's not a league that historically has been wildly successful. But a lot of that I blame on the fact that it's always marketed kind of terribly. During its best times is when there were big names that dropped down to that level.
Right.
And then, to get their next shot at the NFL. Arena's probably not going to garner that attention anymore because the UFL exists.
Right.
And, if you're an NFL guy, or you're trying to break back into it or whatever, are you going to go play arena, or are you going to go to football that is basically the same?
Right.
You're going to go to one that's basically the same.
Yeah.
Because arena ball is definitely different.
Yeah.
Certainly to play.
Yeah.
A lot of different rules. Obviously, alignments are different. People are moving on offense. there's a lot of weirdness to the sport itself. It's a ton of fun.
It was definitely, I mean, like I said, it was the more gimmicky one for sure, but the gimmicks were designed for entertainment. I think with the UFL, there's always for a lot of those guys, there's always that, man, if I do really, really well, maybe the NFL give me another shot. You know, I know that's in the back of the mind of a lot of guys there. Versus the arena, like if I go there, I'm getting a paycheck and you know, have some fun.
And you're not even really getting a paycheck is the thing. So what a lot of people don't realize is arena ball does not pay well, right? You are, I mean, at the end of the day, you get to say, hey, I played pro sports. Hey, you make a few hundred bucks a game. Like you're not making great money. At the height of the AFL, it was like, you know, $1,800, $3,000 a game. Like it's not great money.
Right. Okay.
So especially when you figure the season's not that long. So like if you played all year, sure, you know, $1,800, $3,000 a game could be significant, but you're going to play 12 games.
Right.
So you're still going to have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that was at the height, right? So when you're talking about what it is today, where it's, you know, $300 maybe, $300 12 times is not exactly paying bills.
So you sell a house on Friday and they're like, what are you guys doing this weekend? Oh, I got a game this weekend.
Let me jump on an airplane, you know, whatever. I mean, so like when I played, it was you got a paycheck. They paid for your travel. And they fed you on game day.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Yeah. That's it. So then the next morning you just wrap them bruises up and go back to work. Right? So I think that's one thing that people kind of get the wrong idea about is that all levels of professional sport, you're making awesome money. Basically, unless you have that top level crest on the jersey, you ain't making any money.
Yeah. I feel you.
You still get to say you got paid to play.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I mean, I would rather honestly have that story than not, you know, and that's something nobody could take away from you. And I mean, that'd be kind of cool. I'd lead off every party with, hey, what do you do? I don't know. You play the AFL, you know, like, what?
No, exactly.
I mean, I honestly would. And that would be impressive to me if I was on the other end of that story. So,
no, I mean, it's like, it's a cool talking point, right? Yeah. Like me being able to say I played arena ball is awesome.
Yes. Agreed.
But then one of the next questions is like, oh, yeah, well, you know, like, what did you get paid and stuff? And you're like, I mean, you know, a Pepsi and a song.
Did you have to go to that question next? Can we talk about, you know, my fun experiences, you know? Like,
yeah, no, exactly. You're just like, oh, yeah. Like, what did you make throughout the career? Yeah, you know, I was able to buy some Rolos and a pack of big. Like, I wasn't even able to buy a king size candy bar.
Oh, no, king size. Oh, that was going to be my honest next question. So,
no, it's the fun size. You get 2 Rolos.
Oh wow.
But wouldn't trade it.
Oh no,
wouldn't trade it. But yeah, no, it's. But yeah, I don't see how these leagues are gonna move forward. Exactly, no king size. I don't know how these people are gonna move forward if they're not gonna make it so people can see it.
Right.
Because even locally, nobody knew that. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know we had a team.
Right.
Right. Which is why I was like, oh, I want to cover this. I want to see spring football succeed. Just because, you know, it hasn't and it should. I mean, any kind of next level element to help people continue their career, I want to be a thing, even if it's a sport I'm not particularly fond of. Like I hate soccer. I can't get into it. It's long, it's boring, it ends in ties, everybody flops. Like I can't wrap my head around it. So if you're watching soccer, sorry, not my thing. But
see, now you're hitting me and Rod. So hey, let me say hi to mom. Hi mom. Hi kids. Hi Royal. Hi Lauren. Rod said they're watching.
Hey.
He actually started us out on soccer. So Rod and I both played since we were both 6 years old. So
I can play. Yeah. Playing's actually fun. Watching it is like.
So like I've watched a little of the Euros that are on right now. Mm-hmm. Watching to me has a lot to do with the atmosphere that's there and the stakes in the game versus like I can't watch a regular game.
The way you paused on the A, it sounded like you were going to go with really depends on the alcohol.
Oh, I mean, well, my mom's watching, so
I gotcha.
I drink a lot of milk during during athletic events.
But yeah, I mean, so especially on the men's side, I really can't watch the men's side. The women's side, like that is a more physical brand,
Right.
and there's a little less crying.
Yeah.
If I am going to watch it, I'll probably watch the women's national team over the men's national team. Now, granted, I don't have to worry about it because men's national team got bounced before they even got in the knockout rounds.
I mean,
that's impressive.
That's just you do all this overhauling and new coach and everything, and we're still in the same spot. It's like somebody just said it the one time. It's like until soccer is like a priority in America, like the teams will never be good. We just put more into like our football and our basketball and all the other in baseball. And like when you're a kid growing up, soccer is like a distant fourth, fifth, choice.
Oh yeah,
for most people.
Yeah, it's not even on the radar, really.
Yeah. So
yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Like the national, I feel like they should accidentally be better than they
are. I agree. I think we have too many resources to not be better than we are. Like you have still a huge sample size of people to be pulling from and several great athletes and skilled players. Like I don't know. Plus we're, as the United States, like we're supposed to want to be great at everything, right? Anything that we're not great at, we get insulted usually. So.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess brings us to the next part of that is our football national team got absolutely smoked by Japan. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, wasn't that too? So I don't even know who's on it though. Somebody posted, not the game before Japan, right? We got smoked in the game right before that too, or is that maybe the same game? Anyway, the people were posting it online. And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. Like I don't know who's on it. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I was like, I don't even know how you guys found that score. So
yeah, so I had never even heard about the fact that there was a national team.
No,
and it's like a 20-year-old, right? Like a U20, whatever. So I don't know when this happened. Like, I don't know when it became a thing. There's only, I think there's only 8 teams around the world anyway. So it's not like it's a widespread thing. And the first time I hear about it is because they get absolutely crushed by Japan. And I'm just like, I first am impressed that, we're finally getting some World League back out there. Right. But man, talk about a bad showing.
Yeah. Well, and so if you're saying like under 20, is it all the kids who are like either still in high school or decided not to be freshmen in college? Like, I don't like I feel like I could have grabbed one of the top 10 college teams and had a better showing, but I guess if it's under 20, then you're going to eliminate, half those teams. I don't know. I don't know where the pool is. I don't know who gets invited. Like, are you guys at the airport giving out passes and, hey, kid, how old are you? Here you go. Here's a helmet. So based on the gameplay, I would say that is absolutely what happened. Because the clips that I watched, and unfortunately, it's hard to actually find any information on this. Right.
So there's a reason no one heard about it. But when you're watching it, especially there was one play that there's been a ton of clips about. And this guy runs through the line. Unfortunately, I was going to post it, but I accidentally deleted it off my computer. But he runs through the line and then breaks right and then goes down the sideline. And the defense, the commentators are like, oh, yeah, they were so aggressive and that's how that happens. But when you're watching the video, they have 3 guys bracketing him dead to rights. And instead, the guy that's on the closest side overruns it and just opens the whole side of the field up. You're just like, well, yeah, I mean, they were aggressive, so he was going to get 8 yards.
Right.
That's where all the guys converge. Scoring was because of bad defense and bad form. So, I mean, that's coaching.
Do they have coaches, though? Can you confirm that?
Do they have coaches? I mean, clearly not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was the clips that I saw, it was definitely disappointing. But the fact that you're not hearing about stuff like this. And I mean, we still can't get it in the Olympics, but we have flag football now. So make sense. I don't know. Just very weird. Just very weird.
Reading through. Yeah. Raj was actually a great soccer player. He's almost broke the record in his senior year. Yep. So Raj is amazing. He's giving me credit there, but Raj was a much better player. I played on a travel league for a couple of years, so that's where I had my best soccer. But he was always a much better skilled player. So I have to give him his kudos. Yeah, I'll probably say something insulting here in a minute, but
no, I never played on a team. Like I'd play with friends, right? But yeah, I never played on a team. Actually, the only true team sport I played was football. Yeah. You know, I'd pick up games outside of that, you know. But my next favorite sport was basketball.
Yeah, and that was ours. Basketball and soccer was us growing up.
I gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years of baseball and a couple of years of football. Yeah.
So I was a perimeter shooter.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's hard. But like to the point that you had up there, soccer not a homegrown sport. It's when you go to like, you know, you always see it in poor neighborhoods or whatever, United States. They're playing basketball because that's hey, we got one basketball and a crappy court. You know, like that's something you can pick up. Football is a thing there. Baseball is what kids grew up. In like poor other nations, they've got one soccer ball and they're out playing soccer, you know? So that's, you're never going to be able to overcome that. So as far as the pipeline growing up, so.
Yeah, I mean, especially.
Raj, that makes more sense.
Yes.
This is my brother. I love him.
That is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, that is the difference, right? Is here you're picking up a football because you can have tons of people play. You only need one ball. Around the world, soccer is that sport.
Yes.
You know, baseball, that one's harder because there is gear that you need.
Yes.
Like you can pick up a ball and a stick, and I mean you can play that way, and you do, but you know, it's easier to just find a football and, you know, go and play, and or basketball. Basketball, the same way.
Football and basketball, I think, would be the first two as far as here. And like I said, soccer ball, other places. So
yeah.
Yep.
Man. I think it's Brian Kelly.
We actually had a Notre Dame person on and an LSU person on our show in different weeks. And it's like, I don't know. There's like a rivalry there and a little bit of anger there that I wasn't really prepared for.
Yeah.
But you see, well, I guess because of the way, and that's the Notre Dame guy, he explained that too. Appreciate him coming on there. 5'0" is his is his podcast handle. And it was awesome. It was like the middle of the night kind of leaving to it versus the being straight up and leaving, you know. So
no, that's fair.
Yeah. So and it's funny, you kind of realize one thing we've realized with having different people on is the outsider's view of things and the person on the inside is just like so much. I mean, obviously knew that was a thing, but it's so much different, you know, than what we ever expected about it. So like, to me, I was just like, oh, in my mind, I don't remember that specific part of it. It was just like, oh yeah, he signed to be the coach at LSU. Great for him. But in their mind, it was like the sneaking out the back door. And that's why there's a little hatred. So I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, you know, that is something, you know, that we've seen a few times here in Seattle is like when A-Rod left, right? The Mariners, he was just like, oh yeah, I want to be here, whatever. And then he signs for $272 million for the Rangers. Right. Like literally 3 days after being like, oh, I want to stay in Seattle. Right. And I mean, nobody would care if you just were like, hey, I want all the money. People would be like, fair enough. Right. Or like Russell Wilson, I want to be here and win championships. And then it was literally 3 weeks later, he's like, these are the places I'll go. Right. It's just like, wow, okay. Like you not even trying. So
who do you blame though? Do you blame the media for even asking that question or the player? Like you're leading them into a trap, right?
No, it's the player. It's the player. So, and I'll make this comparison and you'll see why. So you can, if you just want to be upfront about, hey, I want to go, or I want more money or whatever, nobody's going to have a problem with that. But when you spend your whole career trying to build you as the good guy, right? Tiger Woods. Everybody loses their mind when you are banging every chick that's ever walked by, right? They're like, oh my God, because his whole thing was building this I'm a nice guy persona, right? Whereas on the other end, when you think about Charlie Sheen, you're like, oh yeah, he did blowing hookers, and you're just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's Charlie Sheen, right? Well, I mean, it had it been Tiger Woods doing that, it would have been this huge scandal. But when it's Charlie Sheen, because that's the persona he put out, you're just like, yeah, no, I mean, that tracks. So, so if you have players that are sitting here trying to be the good guy the whole time, and then they go and, show you what they actually are, all of a sudden you're just like, oh, okay, well, now that changes how people feel about you. In fact, it makes people mad because they believed this false story that you were putting out. Had he just been upfront, in A-Rod's situation, hey, I'm exploring options, I'm trying to get paid.
Yeah.
Everybody be like, fair enough, right? Because if you are at your company and it's contract time and where you're at, they're like, yeah, we're going to give you 30 cents more. And the company across the street is like, hey, we'll give you a $5 raise. Nobody's mad if you go across the street.
Right.
Unless you're like, I'm going to stay here no matter what. And then the next day you're like, deuces, yo. Like, that makes you feel some kind of way.
I feel that.
So
as a player, though, do you just avoid answering that question, or do you honestly just give it like, hey, are you staying here? Do you honestly just say, hey, I'm exploring all options? Because it feels like people turn on you quicker if you do that.
Well, no. So what you'd say in that situation is still gamesmanship, right? Because you have to still kind of protect your brand to some degree, but you just be like, no, like, I would like to stay here. I've built my career here. I live here. This is my community. Right. But I won't say that I haven't entertained other options. Right. Or in his case, where like in Russell Wilson's case, he's like, I'm forcing my way out because he was still under contract.
Right.
There's no way to make that look good, especially if you're going to, 3 weeks prior, be like, I want to be here forever. I want to finish my career here. I mean, you can't say dumb stuff like that and then force your way out of a contract. Like you look like the biggest douche ever doing that.
Sports Life Coach Bo, brought to you by the Wednesday Wrap Up.
All these TED Talks.
So not where I expected today. Yeah. Well, I apologize. I probably dragged us into a couple of things, but some of those really sparked some opinions from me for sure. So.
No, I mean it's funny because it's the week in review. So I mean that's what we did is we talked about things that happened over this last week in sports, and the conversations go where they go.
Yeah. I didn't know about the Philly deal part of it, so
yeah. So that was there was a potential trade where we would have ended up with Hurts and they would have got Wilson.
Wow.
I would say everybody came out better on this deal, not doing that deal.
Yeah.
Because the Hawks ended up with a lot of pieces.
Right.
And the Eagles didn't get destroyed. So,
dodged a bullet.
Right. Like I think it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. Not for Denver fans. I would imagine they would have loved if the Eagles would have taken him, but because the Broncos are still searching, we'll say. But that brings us to the top of the hour. So if you are watching, be sure to like and subscribe. It does help us bring our content to you. If you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Other than that, we will see you next week.